And this is also the habitat for Tibetan antelopes. And before we start today's live stream, let us watch a video clip to know more about the wildlife here in Altun Natural Reserve. From the little clip, you may have already known almost all the wildlife in the natural reserve, and this place is about the same altitude as the Rabbit Lake. It's about 4,800 meters high, and I'm actually now have a bit of difficulty breathing. It's like if you are in a plane, you can cover one of your nostril, and you can feel that would be the status for people living in the plateau. And today we will join our team member to observe the migrate of Tibetan antelopes. Hello everyone, I'm Xu Junquan. I'm also an inspector of the natural reserve. So what kind of technologies are used in this inspection activities or observation activities? This observation activity covers about 70 kilometers long, and sometimes we will use drone. But when it comes to antelope, Tibetan antelopes, we will not be using the drones. Once we discover the Tibetan antelope, we will use molecules and binoculars to watch them. We'll also be using long focus camera to shoot the footage. This is a video that I shot earlier, and this can also be put in comparative study with the statistics we collected at the same time. In this way, we can have a more accurate calculation of the number of Tibetan antelopes, and we estimate that the total lambs of Tibetan antelopes is around 30,000. Now, 20% of the Tibetan antelopes in this region are pregnant, and the newborn lambs will reach number of 6,000. So is the number going up or down compared to previous years? Through this observation, according to our available statistics, you can see that it's quite similar with the situation of last year. And basically, the antelopes would choose the same locations as they did last year. And the number remains stable. But one thing we've noticed is that its arch enemies' number is dropping. For example, wolves. This is because the increase of wild donkeys and oxes, and most of the wolves feed themselves in the eastern regions, so they don't have to travel thousands of miles further into the western part. And they will also be feeding on bodies of dead animals. So these are deaths of natural causes. And for this wolves, their source of food is better guaranteed. Therefore, wolves as an arch enemy of Tibetan antelopes is decreasing. This is actually good news for Tibetan antelope protection and also lambing of Tibetan antelopes. So we've been following closely with your work in the last few days. We've also noticed that there are some regions which are typically the habitat for Tibetan antelopes. Most of them are places with mountains and water resources and this kind of plains. When a Tibetan antelope is pregnant, maybe it will have difficulty running as fast as before. And also this place is actually in higher altitude. So why do they choose to migrate here, despite the harsh condition and their physical condition? We discovered the first lamb of Tibetan antelope here in 1990s, and then we make this in natural reserve, and it's been almost 40 years for the local researchers and the protectors to carry on their studies and inspections and observations here. I believe that the most suitable natural environment for Tibetan antelopes are as follows. For example, in the Rabbit Lake area, it has a very small, very limited disturbance, whether it's from natural, arch enemies or from human interference. So this place has the minimum impact and interference from outside. And second, the Tibetan antelopes carry on their migration one generation after another. So this is sort of a habitual behavior. So this has become sort of a tradition to them. They follow their instincts. In the Altun Natural Reserve, the Tibetan antelopes is actually, we call a flagship production animal. So why is it so special? This species is unique to our region. In the 90s, there were a lot of illegal hunting, and they almost went extinct. So there were a lot of attention back then by the society, but our country has since strengthened the protection of this species, and we are also been working with the Three River Source Protection Region, the natural reserve, to form this giant area protection zone. And in the past 20 years, the number of the Tibetan antelopes has been growing substantially, and the growth has been relatively stable in the past years, according to our observation. So in this place, actually, Tibetan antelope exists before human beings. This is actually a no man's land, and they are the host here. So as the worker of the staff of the natural reserve, it is our responsibility to protect them. And the Tibetan antelope serves a critical function in the food chain of this region. There are altogether 204 kinds of different animal species here, and all of them plays an important part in the food chain. So you mentioned that wolves and eagles are the Tibetan antelope's biggest enemy. What role do they play in a biodiversity? Biodiversity include animals and plants and other elements in the natural resources. This natural reserve is actually at the basin. There are 5 mountains surrounding this area, including the Altun Mountain, forming 3 basins in between, which is the Jinghu Basin, and among with other 2 basins, and their altitude is about 1,000 meters high. So this kind of very diverse geological condition has given rise to different plantations in these areas, which forms natural habitats for more than 250 species living in this area, and they coexist and codependent with each other. We know that the Tibetan antelopes are part of this food chain. So it is prone to attack of a cannibals animal, especially during its pregnancy, when its physical condition is weak. So the predators would prey on the Tibetan antelopes. And the herbivore would be feeding on grass. So that's forming this entire bio-circle. So we've been working together in the last 2 weeks, and we discovered some interesting phenomena. For example, we discovered this natural motherhood of some wild animals. And for example, the female Tibetan antelopes are very protective of their cubs. So what kind of a function does our observation activities carry in this process? Well, of all the Tibetan antelopes that migrate here, only about 20% of them are pregnant, and the majority of the antelopes come in herd as a company or a companion to their peers. And in this region, the pesticide that on their skins will also be reproducing slower than in their previous habitat. We have discovered some interesting phenomenon. For example, if one antelope is resting, the family members will sometimes surround this antelope as a protection. And when there are wolves that comes to attack the herd, there are groups of the antelopes that will be leading the wolves to other protection in order to protect the rest of the herd. This is very interesting group activities. You've been using technologies to monitor the lambing and migration of the Tibetan antelopes, and what are the future work according to the available statistics right now? We now deeply feel that the Tibetan antelopes are highly sensitive species, and they will become highly alert if we come within 1 kilometer's distance to them. Now we have a rough picture about the number of the antelopes, and we also have some information about its habitat, its feeding area, and breeding area. However, in the future, we will still need to carry on our work and strengthen our application of IT and work with a scientific institute to have a more accurate picture of the numbers and their situation of living through using micro tracers. In that place, when we use this kind of technologies, the observers or researchers they would not have to come here in person. They can just do the observation through the micro tracers or followers or hidden cameras. I think this is the best relations that we should maintain with wildlife. You've been spending such a long time here. And besides the antelope, what are the other wildlife that we have also been applying the technologies on? Yes, we are using some domestic technologies, and we are also working with scientific research institutes and teams. For example, the black-necked crane. Currently, we have about 130 black-necked cranes in the natural reserve. And we also use the micro tracers to observe them. We discovered that they would migrate thousands of miles into Linzhi County of Xizang to spend the winter before coming back. In the future, we'll also be working with some universities to observe the habitat and the migration of species such as snow leopard. We are looking forward to more cooperations and participation from these different institutions. We hope that more fellow researchers can join us in the future. Thank you, Mr. Xu, for your hard work and your introduction. Through his introduction, we discover that the reason for so many wildlife to live happily and coexist peacefully together in this region is the production of professionals such as Mr. Xu. There are more than 20 inspectors here in the natural reserves and been working day and night. And also we have a local police force that have given us a lot of support in our daily work. They have been protecting this region for many years, and they are also cracking down illegal huntings in this area. And we have the honor to have with us 2 policemen from the police station of the local place. Mr. Xu tells us about the previous illegal huntings in this area. So what kind of work have we been focusing on in the past years? Can you tell us? In recent years, we have already terminated this illegal hunting in this area, but there are also some trespassing in the last few years. So during our inspection, once we found these trespassers, we will persuade them to go back and take them out of the natural reserve. So we have 6 generations altogether of policemen that have been working and protecting this area. Besides the illegal behaviors, which is non-existent right now, there are also some illegal trespassers. Once they ran into some emergencies and ran into danger, you will have to help rescue them, right? So what kind of advice do you have to those potential trespassers? We understand that sometimes you like outdoor sports, but this is plateau region. If you are poorly prepared, you or your vehicle might run into danger and you will have difficulty. You have difficulty saving yourself if something happened to you, because this is basically a no man's land. So what are some of the dangerous situations that you encountered in the past years? What kind of dangers would a trespasser put himself into? The first is oxygen deprivation. The second is some problems with your vehicles. If you have a satellite phone with you, we may be able to help you, or if you have run into us, that will help you. Otherwise, it would be difficult for us to know your location and the situation. Thank you very much. In the Altun Natural Reserve, besides the workers as well as the policemen, we also have a lot of workers working in other industries. And currently, we do not have illegal hunters anymore, but there are still trespassers that will come to the no man's land, and because they are unfamiliarized with the local condition, sometimes their vehicle would have difficulty driving in this area, and they cannot save themselves, and they have to ask for the help of the others. But sometimes when the communication is broke, they will have difficulty getting out. And yesterday, when we came back, we are our way back. We are actually trapped in this mountain flood. Luckily, we have two vehicles. If a trespasser only has one vehicle, they will have problem getting out. June and July were the best season for the Altun Mountain. But this is also the breeding season for a lot of wildlife. If the vehicle rushed onto the wild animals, it may hurt them and disturb their breeding process. So we strongly suggest against such behavior. Please do not come to the no man's land. And this is a worker from China Mobile. The reason why we can carry on this live broadcast is because of their hard work. And this is a worker from engineer from the local China Mobile, Xizang Mobile. And what kind of difficulties did you address in the past? And what are the challenges that you encountered in the last few days? Because our live broadcasts have been going on for about 2 weeks. This is the 10th day of our live broadcast, and I think our communication vehicle have withstand a lot of challenges in the last 10 days. Our satellite connection and wireless 5G transmission have been massively improved, and through our monitor, we discovered that the downward rate is about 25 Mbps, and the upward, it's about 22 Mbps, which has effectively guaranteed the smooth live streaming of this Altun Mountain Natural Reserve. And it can meet the request of the cable TV as well as digital platform. So in our live broadcast, Mr. Xu and also our workers from other places are having difficulty breathing, and many of them are coughing, because working in this high altitude area is a massive challenge to us who are used to living in the plains. But it is our responsibility to bring the most beautiful energy and the situation of the wild animals that live here to our dear audience. We hope that more people can give their attention to this place and better protect this place. This is Mr. Zhang. Hello, everyone. I'm Zhang Shengfa from the Altun Mountain Natural Reserve, and you've joined Mr. Xu for the monitoring this afternoon. So what have you observed? Yesterday we observed about 1,000 antelopes, and today the number is about 100. So, Mr. Zhang, how long have you been here in this region? I've been working here for 14 years. So what is the biggest difficulty that you have to encounter in the past more than a decade? Sometimes we may face the attack of wild animals or extreme weathers. You see, this is raining right now. And we will also be encountering this hinders from wild yaks and wolves and bears when we are camping at night. You may experience all kinds of extreme weathers within one day, raining and strong wind and snowing and blast. All are possible within one day. Yesterday, for example, we encountered very heavy rain and flooding in the mountains. Sometimes we may have to spend hours overcoming the difficulty, digging our vehicles out of the mud floods and other natural disasters. So each time we come here, it will take at least 2 days for one trip, and you will not have a lot of time to spend with your family, right? Right, so we are very busy working all day, and I can only spend a few days at home, and will only take a few days to stay at home before my wife have to see me off again to work in a natural reserve. So I want to apologize to my family for not being able to spend a lot of quality time with them. But this is my job, this is my responsibility, and I have to stick to my commitment. I believe that your wife will understand this situation. This is a very special job. There are a lot of professionals like Mr. Zhang and Mr. Xu who are working in this region as the protector of the natural habitat. It is our responsibility to guard this place, to guard the animals, and to prevent human interference of any kind, the disturbance of trespassers, for example. This place is known as the Kenya of the East and also a natural museum. I like your optimism and the analogies that you use, actually. Right? Because this place, this is no man's land. There are nobody here besides us. So we have to, find fun, discover some fun in it. For example, we love singing when driving, and so on. This could be a lonely job, There are some touching pictures in the last few days because the other day we were working besides the rabbit lake. There are 2 vehicles driving in. And Mr. Zhang and his colleague stopped them immediately, I think with a very strong stance. Have you ever thought about the possible dangers? Well, it has actually become sort of my instinct If we see possible trespassers, we would come up and stop them. And we are not afraid of them because this is our responsibility to protect this place. But it was actually a misunderstanding. The two so-called trespassers were two researchers from the Forest Research Institute. But we respect their courage. So what are the most impressive stories that you encountered in the past decade? I remember in 2001, there was a heavy flood in Altun Mountain. I was alone in the station, and there are mud flows, and I was so scared. I miss my family, and our station is a very small place, location, and there are mud flow on a daily basis. And it was a very dangerous and risky situation, and I'm afraid I was quite afraid back then. It's a bit rainy. It was actually quite sunny in the morning, but now it's raining heavily, so you may experience 4 seasons within one day. In the past days, we have a lot of impressive stories. We are impressed by the protectors of the natural reserve. There are policemen, there are professionals and researchers and workers of the natural reserve. We also have experienced some memories that will be unforgettable to us, because the road is long, the journey is long and bumpy here. We also have run into a lot of wildlife in the journey, so the total protection area is about 445,000 square meters, and there are 20 professionals working here. There are Tibetan antelopes and Tibetan donkeys, and there are a lot of natural protection animals here. And this is their home. And the reason that they can stay here happily and coexist with each other is due to this protection hard work of our professionals. And that's basically the live stream of our program today. And this is the last day for us for our live streaming. And we will be saying goodbye to this lovely place. And we have experienced a lot of miracles. Because, for example, we've seen this kind of motherly love between this Tibetan antelope and her cub. And we also would like to call on all our viewers to pay attention, follow the protection of wildlife, especially in the Altun Mountain region. Let us protect nature and protect wildlife. Thank you.